Greetings! I'm so honored to have you be with me on this channel today. If you are new, welcome. I'm so glad you have found this. I try to share stories of where I have encountered the sacred mixing with the ordinary, just to take those moments to reflect and start thinking about where do you see those things happening in your own lives, because I believe that there is deep, powerful meaning and love and lessons that are before us, and sometimes we get so busy we simply miss them, and sometimes I get so busy I forget to share them. So thank you for taking this time with me today. I do also like to do random unboxing videos, and if you like that, you can like and subscribe and follow along, and whichever things don't interest you, it does not hurt my feelings to not watch or engage. I just like to interact and try to bring joy and share with other people. So today's story is an interesting one that can be applied to anybody, because this story is about the fact that we had been serving in missions and looking to go on these kind of trips, looking and seeking out needs. Maybe there had been a hurricane, or maybe there had been a fire at a house and we were trying to help rebuild. But I shared a story from Brazil. We went all the way to Brazil and discovered some needs in our backyard that we weren't meeting. So I don't know how to do that fancy thing where the suggested video comes out, but I'll try to figure it out, and if either way, I'll put it in the description box too. So that made us aware that we should perhaps think about more focus in our own neighborhood. So I created the next summer a trip to be right in our own city. And normally I have about at least 20 to the biggest was 53 people, usually averaged about 30 people per mission week. And this particular one, since it was right in its own city, I had 8. So I had 8 faithful youth that said, yes, I'm willing to serve in my own town. Everybody else was like, yeah, that doesn't sound very exciting, which, you know, on the surface, yeah, you know, go to Brazil or stay and hang out in your own city. I can appreciate that. But what happened is we did 2 things. One, we focused on outreach, going to those places where maybe people were transitioning from homeless to full-time housing, lower income at-risk neighborhoods, finding those places where particularly children would be, and building a relationship over the week, providing some physical needs or just listening to their stories and making that partnership so that we could return the next week and take those children to our vacation Bible school, which turned out to be a very successful, helpful beginning to becoming even more connected to our own community and our own neighborhoods. And the youth got to see things that were really actually just around the corner of their own neighborhoods, but now they saw them in a different way. And the other thing was a project for a man's house. We were scraping and painting the outside of a house. Nothing too monumental about that. And yet the man was 101 years old, and his son, who was in his 70s, also lived with him. And we arranged it all, and when the mission trip came up right before, the gentleman went into hospice. He was on the last of his life. And while we worked on the house through the son, who was also not so young or able to be climbing up on his house scraping, we got to visit the father in hospice and get to be part of that. And he was so thankful knowing that he was leaving his house and his orders and affairs in good standing, and that we were helping and that we were loving and that we could be in prayer, and just leaving this legacy. Listening to some of his stories of life was deeply meaningful and touching to myself and many of the youth. So that at the end, and we did some fun things. Let me back up and say, it was not all work. We went swimming, we had cookouts and s'mores, and it was cool. Now, I will also say this was that trip, anybody who knows these stories, that the outside of the house, because it was so run down, there was quite a bit of poison ivy. So about half of us had a lot of poison ivy. So there was a little afternoon side trip to the urgent care to get some physician strength ointments and those kind of things for the ones of us that had gotten into it, myself included. So yes, that was a memorable trip. But despite that, despite the annoyances and certainly the pain and inconvenience of poison ivy even, at the end of the week, we all were just really touched at how awesome it was to see our own neighborhoods with fresh eyes, things that we had driven by and never knew. This is the place that someone is really struggling, and we can't be the same again. We drive by there, you know, not daily, but on a regular basis, and we now are aware, and we can now be in relationship. So the next time we offered a local trip, we had 21 youth that said, yes, I'm ready to do this trip. So it only took that one time and that one group coming back and saying, this is special, this is awesome. You need to open your eyes and serve in your own city. So I'm hoping that on this day, sharing this, that maybe as you drive around, or maybe you'll come across somebody to question or ask, or just wonder about where are those places in your own community that maybe there's an opportunity to encounter somebody else's story who's struggling, and to be that answered prayer, to be that answered hope that somebody is needing, and it's not out of the way and you don't have to travel far. So may you on this day remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you are wonderfully loved, and that you may see these opportunities to lean into these moments of sanctuary. Y'all have a super blessed day.